People don't understand how isolating it can feel after you go through a breakup, how you can feel so alone, so depressed. There are the highest cases and reports of suicide, of depression that happen after people break up in their relationships, and especially after divorce, where you've lost your identity for so long. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Turning Wounds to Wisdom podcast. I'm Yats. You've probably heard a lot of my episodes before. I hope you love this one. It's going to be a really beautiful episode because I also have a special guest who knows a lot of what we're going to talk about today. She's someone who leads so many women to find a sense of confidence, a sense of self, and how they can dress. And she's created such a good profile for herself in bringing how changing the way you appear, changing the way you dress up, changing the way you look can create a strong sense of confidence for yourself. And so I've been blessed with her being a part of one of my inner work and healing programs, in which she talked a lot about her relationship. She talked a lot about, having gone through divorce, why that was such a challenging time for her, and now how she's trying to find her own independence, her own self, her own identity. So in a few minutes, I'm going to bring on Heather, a beautiful guest with a huge audience of people who learn from her every single day. But what today's episode is going to be is primarily around how to find yourself after divorce or even after breakup. And this episode, I'm going to be very honest, is targeted towards a lot of the women in our community for whom we find that there's not enough support, there's not enough of acceptance. Most often the first thing that comes after divorce or breakup is a lot of judgment. So I'm really excited to bring this guest on today. So everybody give me a little round of applause to welcome Heather onto the stage.
Thank
Beautiful,
you.
Heather.
So honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the session today, Heather. First, how do you feel being on this podcast today?
I feel enthusiastic and very excited, and I am just a little bit nervous, but I am just going to take a few deep breaths, and I know I'll be okay, because I know that
Nice.
I'm meant to do this for sure.
Yes, you are. You are meant to do this. And I think that, I've seen you as a student on one of my programs. I've seen you work through and show up for yourself, albeit in pajamas late at night when the live calls were. But I saw you show up continuously for yourself, wanting to be here, wanting to, to grow into a higher space. So first, before we begin, do you want to take that breath together again? Just a small, quick, easy breath?
Sure.
Yes? Okay. So let's close our eyes together. Everybody else, if you're watching, I invite you to close your eyes with us. Close your eyes. Take a nice, big, beautiful breath in through your nose. And as you're breathing out, breathe out through your mouth, releasing any stress, nervousness, anxiety. Breathe in again through the nose. This time, hold at the top and remember that we are all just little beings here on this earth to play, to enjoy, to have fun, and be present. And release. Before you open up your eyes, this conversation is going to be a beautiful conversation. Just two people learning to talk about their lives themselves, what they've gone through, in the hope that it can give guidance and wisdom to other people. So, welcome, Heather. My first question to you: why were you nervous about having this conversation? Maybe having this conversation on public platforms? I don't know. What is it you think that you're feeling nervous about?
Well, I guess, maybe being judged by people for, being divorced. I've actually been divorced twice.
Okay.
I got married at a very young age the first time, at age 19. And then I got married the second time. I think I was 32, actually 34. And so I guess just being judged by others. But, something that I really tried to work on is just understanding that it's really none of my business what other people think of me. And I'm really trying to turn my pain into my purpose. And I know that what I went through was one of the reasons was for me to be able to help other women who've gone through similar situations and relationships.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I mean, first, I like how you said it's actually none of their business what you're going through, and it's none of your business what they think of you either.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's more important what you think of yourself. But
exactly,
in our conditioning, a lot of the time when we feel the weight of our loved ones, especially, or people that we trusted and we were familiar with, if we feel the weight of their judgment, then we start to make it our business. So before we move forward into the conversation, I want to ask you, what is something you can be grateful for in your journey that you've gone through these two divorces? What is something that you can really be grateful for about that, no matter how difficult that was? What is something you can be grateful for today, right now, specifically about those two things?
Well, because of those, unhealthy relationships, it made me do work on myself, and it made
Mm,
me look inside, because what I was doing was pointing my finger outwards and, oh, it's your fault. If you would only change, if you would only do this different.
right,
So I realized, like, I had this huge aha moment that, like, hello, I need to look inside of me to figure out
right.
what's going on. And so because of those relationships, I've been able to do a lot of healing and inner work that I probably otherwise would have never done.
Do you think, do you think you're a better person for that today? That,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a better
yeah.
person, and I'm also more equipped to help other women. And that's one of my
Mm,
missions. The reason I started my fashion business 12 years ago was to help women, feel more confident and like better versions of themselves. But it goes way deeper than the clothes that we put on our body, although that does impact how we feel. Of course, it's like, I'm big into getting therapy and doing self work and all of that. And so I'm able to help women with that too. And that's a
yeah.
blessing.
Absolutely. And I like that you hold that as important, because a lot of people listening, a lot of people watching, we go through difficult times in our lives, and as human beings, we're very three-dimensional beings. We attach very much to the physical things in our surrounding. Oh, I don't have a partner. I should be upset. Oh, I don't have the money. I should be depressed. Oh, I don't have anything, coming my way. And it makes us focus too much only on what we think of what is, instead of thinking of what is the good that's come out of it. How is this helping me to move on to a beautiful place? How is this motivating me to have a better life in my future? So I think that's really nice that you are able to like alchemize that situation to see that it's provided you something really good and powerful, especially coming out from divorces, which are hard.
Yeah.
So I wanna ask you, divorces are hard personally. Well, this is actually another moment of truth. I've also been married twice.
Okay,
My
good.
first, yeah, and my
We're in the same club.
exactly right. Well, my first marriage was basically a legal marriage, and it was 15 days technically.
Oh,
Was
wow.
how long
Okay.
we were married for. But we were together for 6 years. I think 6 or 5 years before that. We got married because we thought it would be really helpful for us to move to another country together. Like I had a visa, she didn't. It's really difficult as like Indian citizens to get visas really easily. And so that was we had planned to get married in the future anyway. And so we made this decision. But after I moved to the new country, it seemed like everything started to fall apart. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to come join you. This is not working out. So we had to get a divorce. So technically, actually, we got an annulment. And the judge gave it to us because he was like, you spend only 15 days together in the same city as like a married couple. So it's kind of easy. But it still weighs on you, though, when you're going into your second marriage, right? It still weighs on you. Forget even when you're going to your second marriage, it weighs on you after you go through that big breakup and a divorce, because you start to really question yourself. Is that something that you experienced for yourself after you got divorced? Or a better question is, what were you going through after you had or went through that divorce?
So the first one or the second one?
Well, whichever one was more intense, I would say, or impactful for you.
Yeah, I'll I had a lot of similar feelings with both of them, but I'll really kind of talk more about the more recent one, since it's more recent and fresh on my mind.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, the feelings that I felt were feelings of, sadness and anger and fear. I had a lot of fear, which I think is what kept me stuck in that relationship for so long, because I was afraid to leave.
Mhm.
And I kept thinking that, okay, I'll leave when I'm not afraid to leave. I'll leave when I'm not afraid anymore. But what I've learned is that the fear doesn't go away.
Mm.
I said, I need to leave to save myself. And it's okay that I'm afraid. And guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. And so,
Yeah.
that's like having faith, like I have faith
Mm.
that God's going to take care of me. no matter what. And so, yeah, it's scary because now I'm going to be alone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old. I have been in a relationship since I was 16 years old for pretty much
Wow.
my entire life, half of my life or more than half of my life. And
Right.
those were unhealthy relationships, including my, two ex-husbands, but also men that I've dated, guys that I've dated throughout my lifetime.
Mhm.
Most of them have been unhealthy and toxic. And I know why that is. It's the patterns that I picked up from my childhood.
Okay, wait. So now I'm gonna jump in here because there's two things that I want to bring to your attention. First, for everybody listening, um, I want to say I'm proud of you. You've been a student of my program and you've gone through the work. And like you said, you're 50 and you've been in a relationship since you were 16 years old. Why do you think that you've been in relationships, continuously since that period of time? Why do you think that you always went to seek something from a relationship? Why do you think that is?
because I was looking for external validation to make me feel
Mm,
good instead of giving that to myself. And I didn't
okay.
know that I was, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was doing that. I wasn't aware of that until
Mhm.
probably 7 years ago when I started this healing journey and working on myself. And then I realized, oh, I was going for these men because I needed this external validation to make me
Yeah.
feel better about myself.
And so, can you tell me a little more about since you had divorces, I assume that, both of you or one of you concluded that this relationship was not for yourself. So, can you tell me about maybe your first relationship as well? What was that like? Was that like a comfortable, safe relationship for you as a woman? Was it something that gave you what you needed? Or what was it like? I see a little snigger, so obviously there's something coming up here that I'm very curious about.
That relationship began when I was 16 years old. He was my high
Wow.
school sweetheart. And so,
It's
you know,
almost like you didn't even know enough about the world before you got into that relationship, right?
right, exactly. And he was a lot like my dad.
And what was that like?
I have my dad has passed. He
Sorry,
died
yeah.
12 years ago, and prior to that, we had an amazing relationship. I was really close with my father. But growing up, when I was a little girl, I love my parents. My parents are amazing. And mom, if you're listening, I love you and all
I
that.
love that. I hope she's listening.
I know, me too. My parents' marriage was very, a lot of high highs and low lows, a lot of fighting, a lot of drinking, a lot of
Mm,
chaos. And so that's what I saw as a little girl that was modeled to me as, oh, this is what love is. This is what a marriage should look like. And I didn't know, that all that's happening, is my subconscious is being programmed like, oh, okay, this is what a relationship is. And so what felt familiar for me was a chaotic relationship full of high highs and low lows. And that's exactly what I got from my 16-year-old boyfriend, who was a fun guy to be around. He was Mr. Party Animal, lots of drinking and everything. But yeah, it was a lot of high highs and low lows. So even though that was miserable, I didn't realize it because it was also familiar to me and to my nervous system.
wow, that's pretty astute for someone who's been in a relationship to say and look back and say that, like, the reason I got into the new relationship, which wasn't something that gave me love or wasn't something that gave me connection, was or fulfilled me. It gave you connection for sure, but it didn't keep me safe. It didn't do anything. It was because that's what I knew and that's what I learned, right?
Mhm.
And you, I think more power to you for even admitting and recognizing that your upbringing, especially witnessing the modeled behavior to you from your father and your mother, and how your dad was probably chaotic and he was alcoholic, that's the kind of safety that you should expect from a man. And there's nothing different that you could probably expect. You couldn't expect a man to probably be more grounded, in control of his emotions, more regulated. Instead, you expect, and what you saw from your family, that when he's uncomfortable, he takes it out on you or in the relationship. Is that what you experienced in your relationship?
Yeah, with both my parents, my mom and my dad. And my dad did stop drinking when I was 12,
Okay.
and then their marriage got a lot better. And so I did see
Right.
that. I saw that their marriage did become a lot better and a lot more even keeled. And but by that time I was 12 years old, and my subconscious had already been programmed,
Mhm.
to see the unhealthiness of it. And so
Yeah.
that's what really drives your decisions unless
Yeah.
until you become aware of it, which I'm aware of it now. So now that I'm in the dating world, which I guess we'll probably talk about that in a little while,
Right.
I'm noticing some of the guys that I have chosen to date for a little bit and then
Yeah.
back off because they have that same pattern that I don't want to be a part of anymore.
What does it feel like to know that you had a particular pattern of men, or you had a particular pattern of relationships where someone was probably, like you said, maybe they prioritized themselves more than you. Maybe they didn't do the inner work, so they weren't regulated and grounded. Maybe they took out their like emotional selves on you. Maybe they invalidated or ignored you or made you feel small. What does it feel like to break that pattern or be aware of it now while you're dating in the new world to make sure that you don't repeat the same thing? What does it feel like to just be able to see it and catch it?
It feels amazing. It feels really
bet.
good. It feels really good when I don't have feelings for the person. I've
Can you tell
dated
me more about that? What is that? Why do you say it feels really good when I don't have feelings for the person? What does that mean?
because like I've been on many first dates, right? Maybe 10 to 15 first dates where I realize I've noticed on the first date, I've seen a red flag and I've cut it off before I went any further. So I had no time to develop feelings for this person, right? Versus somebody that I had that I did
Right.
a situationship with where I noticed it on the first date. My intuition told me, but I chose to ignore it because I was having fun and I had these strong, intense feelings for him that grew and grew and grew. And then it was like, then I realized after date 5 or 6, I got to end it with this guy because he isn't healthy for me.
Right.
And so I did, and it broke my heart. Like I laid on my living room floor and cried my eyes out.
Oh, wow.
I had a part of me thought like, do I love this guy? But then I was like, I'm not going to do this again to myself. So I did it. I didn't do it, but it was really, really hard. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
No one tells you about that part, right? They, and myself included, like I teach you all of this. We've been in our program and I talk about how, when you're breaking a pattern and you know what you do want, it becomes easier to say no to what you don't want. But that initial stage where you're breaking past being used to the things that are not good for you to moving into the stage of things that are good for you, it's still a hard process to kind of let that go a little bit and move into this new transition. Are you hurting from shame, loneliness, toxic relationships? Do you want to break that pattern and create a beautiful, loving life for yourself? Well, my name is Yats, and I'm an inner work and relationship guru. And I have helped thousands of women and men from all around the world learn to become their best selves and have the lives that they truly want and desire. This channel was designed for you to be able to heal those old wounds, be able to become and elevate your best self, and to you to love your life really that you have right now. And I offer an 8-week program called The Gauntlet, which takes you on this amazing journey of healing those wounds. And I also offer in-person live retreats all around the world where you can access that same level of healing and empowerment. I want you to do something for you today. I want you to watch some of these videos. And if these videos hit close to home, they resonate with you and they're giving you some inspiration, then I want you to subscribe and share it with somebody else who needs it. These videos aren't just for someone to consume. They're meant to inspire people to take action. And if you want to take action in your own life, jump in the comments. Watch the videos. Send me a DM at The Inner Yats on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.